my first ever Pokemon plush was, and then the next thing I know, it was all out of stock. So freaking stressful. I was afraid if I was getting scammed. Hello, it's me, Mimim, and welcome to my world. So, for today's video, I'll be sharing my journey or my collection journey in collecting Pokemon plushies, how I started, and all of the experiences that I've had throughout the years. So, are you ready? Let's go. So just like any person, my hobby started during the pandemic where during the lockdown, we were all forced to stay at home and just be with our own thoughts. I was stuck here alone during the pandemic because my family were stuck in the province during the lockdown. So months after the lockdown, during September 2020, security was still tight, but we were allowed to move around a little. And by that time, my sister and her family were able to go back here in the city, and I have some companions already. And September is my birth month, so shout out to all the Virgos out there. I've always loved Pokemon. Ever since I was a child, I hurry up coming home from the school just to catch the afternoon show of Pokemon in the local TV network. But just like any other families that were in the province, we didn't have budget for me to have any Pokemon merch or Pokemon cards or even any game consoles and play the Pokemon games. So the Pokemon series was all I had. Fast forward to September 2020, I was working for around 4 years around that time, so I have personal money already to buy myself a game console for the first time. My first ever game console was the Nintendo Switch Lite, the Sword and Shield version, and I bought the Pokemon Shield along with it. So I was so excited to finally own something Pokemon, and I was playing that game almost all the time. During the weekends, after work hours, I was playing Pokemon Shield. And by that time, our neighbor started live selling some plushies. Naturally, I asked in their live selling if they were selling any Pokemon plushies. And yes, so my first ever Pokemon plush was a Vulpix. I loved that thing so much. I lived my Brock fantasy owning Vulpix. I also owned Lapras, 2 to be exact. I am obsessed with Lapras ever since the Orange League. I have loved Lapras. So I have also loved those plushies very much. After owning a couple of Pokemon plushies from our neighbors live selling, I started to do my own research in Facebook if there are any other Facebook groups or live selling that are selling Pokemon plushies. So I joined a lot of plushies selling groups in Facebook. So weeks after, I ended up buying plushies from around the Philippines, even searching through Shopee if there are any Pokemon plushies up for sale. And I have amassed a lot during a short amount of time. And the next thing I know, poof, these plushies are overrunning my bed. This is the first picture of my first ever Pokemon plush collection. By that time, I wasn't really specific with any brands of the plushies, but throughout the weeks that I was in live sellings all throughout the Philippines, I have met a lot of Pokemon plush collectors. During the live selling, they would ask for a specific plush or for a specific brand. So it got me curious, and then I did my own research. What are the brands for Pokemon plushies? I started from there. And then I discovered that most of my plushies were third round plushies. This is a brand from Korea, and some of my plushies were actually bootlegged. I plan to replace my collection slowly but surely. I started to do my own research, and I wanted to replace my collection with branded Pokemon plushies like Banpresto, Tomy, or Pokemon Center. And then I thought I gotta sell my current Pokemon collection to fund my search for branded Pokemon plushies. I was still searching through Facebook live selling and even through Shopee, but by this time I was so particular with what brand the Pokemon plush I'm gonna buy. So I started to take pictures of my Pokemon plush, and I created a dedicated page for my plushie selling, which is Pokédex and Extras in Facebook. I posted them up for sale in my Facebook page, and then I shared the selling post to my private Facebook profile. I wasn't getting a lot of traffic by then. I was getting a lot of inquiry from people that I already know from my personal life even before the Pokemon plushie collection. And then I thought I should share this selling post to all of the groups I am part in. All of the groups that were for plushie selling, I shared the post in there and I got a lot of inquiry, and then the next thing I know, it was all out of stock. When I was buying plushies are all around the Philippines, I also tried to buy some other plushies, non-Pokemon plushies, to go with my order for the shipping fee to be worth it. And then I ended up selling all of those plushies in my Facebook page. And then I've also tried to do live selling, which is so freaking stressful. So I was selling a lot of plushies, and from what I earned from them, I was slowly trying to buy and build my collection again, this time around with branded Pokemon plushies, specifically Pokemon Center plushie. I also got into collecting Munchichis, if you know them. They're so cute. And I've also tried to collect Studio Ghibli plushies, but I've decided to sell all of them so that I would just only focus on Pokemon plushies. So fast forward a few months, I was still selling plushies, but by this time I was holding on to Pokemon plushies alone. There were some non-Pokemon plush, but I was selling mostly Pokemon plushies by that time, and I was still slowly building my collection from there. But I didn't have the space for me to display my collection, so I stored them in balikbayan boxes, which I got from our neighbor, which they threw away, and then I asked if I could have them. They were clean, and then I stored all of them, my collection, in balikbayan boxes. I did not keep all of them in balikbayan boxes. I had some on my bed, and I loved them so much. They gave me peace and tranquility during a stressful day. After I decided to be more specific with my collection, so I decided to collect only legendary and mythical Pokemons, mostly Pokemon Center and Tomy by that time. I have always been in awe with legendary and mythical Pokemons, and a few months after, I had these. So, as you can see, the collection is growing. One fateful night, I stumbled upon a live selling, but this time it's not from the Philippines, it's from Japan. I was terrified. One, because it takes time for the plushies to arrive to you. Second, I was afraid if I was getting scammed. And third, plushies from Japan or importing plushies is already so expensive. But by that time, I wanted to complete my collection and to complete the legendary and mythical Pokemons. Most of the plushies I am missing are so hard to find, and you can only find them in Japan. And so I thought, why not try it? I have bought some plushies for my collection and also bought some plushies for me to sell in my Facebook page, for me to fill up the box, since I have to fill up a balikbayan box for the shipping fee to be worth it. At that point, I know there is already a Pokemon plush collectors community here in the Philippines that would be interested in buying all of these extra plushies, so I decided to go with it. So fast forward a few months, I received the Japan box. I was so excited to receive it. I decided that I want to do a live opening of it. So I set up my living room and I sprawled all of my collection in the background. As you can see, my nephew is on top of the Japan box that I had, and I had so much fun in that live opening. It was so fun interacting with the community, seeing everybody so excited with the Pokemon plush that I was going to sell. So the next day, I had taken some pictures of the Pokemon plush that I was going to sell, and then I posted them up for sale. And the response was so overwhelming. Up to this day, I am still so thankful to every one of you that have supported my journey. There's a lot of people asking to buy the Pokemon plush. Even if there are other people that were not buying for me, they were still sharing the selling post. So I am so thankful for you guys. In that posting, I had the Pikachu closet, if you're familiar with them, where you can dress up Pikachu in different outfits. It had 3 outfits in the pack, and I've also have the G-Max Meowth and a lot of different plushies, mostly Pokemon Center, Tomy, and Banpresto. So by that point, I have frequent the GNT near our place. GNT is a shipping company all throughout the Philippines. So I have dropped off a lot of packages with them by that point. And then a few months after, I started to collect life-size Pokemon plushies. And then I decided to be more specific with it. I decided to collect life-size Pokemon starter plushies. And boy, I thought the market for mythical and legendary Pokemons were wild. A lot of people want the life-size starters plush. Not as worse as the EV collectors. EV collectors, hats off to you guys. It's a battle out there, especially for the sleeping EVs. Those are so in demand and so high priced even outside the Philippines. At that point in my collection journey, remember I have stored them in balikbayan boxes. So I have 3 huge balikbayan boxes full of Pokemon plush with 3 boxes also on top of them where I store everything. And then when I switched rooms, I finally have the space for me to display my Pokemon plush collection. So I had a carpenter come in and do the display case that I have in my background right now. And I have also hired an electrician to put in some lights for the collection. And when everything is done, all the paint fumes are already gone. That was horrific. The paint fumes stayed for almost a month before I could start to use my own room again. I was so excited to display all of my collection. This is a picture of the first night that I displayed all of them. I was so excited. And then from that point on, my collection just grew and grew, and now I have these. So it's a long way from where I started. The journey was so long and so tedious, especially on live selling, where you need to wait for the seller to flex the item that you want. And then you end up not even getting it because you're not the first one to show up in their screen. It was so stressful, but it was also worth it. Not just for the plush, but also the friends and the community that I have discovered all throughout my journey. It was also worth it. And now I am here creating content, and hopefully you guys can still support me all throughout this journey as well. So that's my story so far, and if you're curious about my collection, if there are any other topics that you want me to cover, please comment them down below. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you for staying this far in the video. Please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell for you to be notified for future videos. Alright, bye!